Hi, I'm Pav.
And I'm Neil.
And welcome to the Top 10 of Anything podcast.
Let's start the countdown.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, and let me tell you that you'll be a psycho to miss this one. So let's look through the rear window directly north by northwest and avoid suspicion by taking 39 steps to find out what the young and innocent think of our choices of top 10 of our favourite Alfred Hitchcock movies are. It's me, Neil. Pav's not with us, I'm afraid, so I have to torture you with myself. But I am excited to say I'm joined by the lovely ladies, Rebecca and Marnie. No, sorry. No, it's the wonderful Jen Berg and the Corinne Pastor. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Was that a bit too much, was it? A bit too obvious on the choices of words of Alfred Hitchcock in there?
Not at all. You could do it all day.
Oh, well, we could try. I mean, I'd run out of movies eventually. So, ladies, what I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to give you some Alfred Hitchcock facts, because that's what I normally have to do. You can usher me along if you know them, or you can take them in and win, I don't know, Trivial Pursuit next time you play. Maybe not. So here we go. Alfred Hitchcock has never won a Best Director Oscar. I didn't know that until I read it. So the director starred in a cameo as himself in almost every one of his movies. The person who loved to terrify others with his films had several phobias himself. Hitchcock was afraid of children, oval objects, and police officers. Alfred Hitchcock never learned to drive and did not get a driver's license. This was probably due to the reluctance to contact the police once again. Hitchcock was banned from entering Disneyland, and Walt Disney himself refused to use the amusement park as a location for filming, because the director made that disgusting movie, Psycho. Due to his excess weight and small stature, the director was released from service during the First World War. For 4 decades, Hitchcock's wife, Alma Reville, helped with the scripts and, well, pretty much every other aspect of the filmmaking. Defining much of his style, it was reportedly her idea to use Bernard Herrmann's string score for the shower scene in Psycho. While some actresses defended him, the bad stories are really bad. For example, he referred to the 39 Steps lead actress as the Birmingham Tart. Not a cool word, fellas. We all know that. And then he'd direct her by pretending he was going to jerk off to get a shocked face. Hitchcock enjoyed very un-Hitchcockian movies. The last film he ever screened in his studio was 1977's Smokey and the Bandit. And in 1979, Hitchcock received the Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Film Institute. He jokingly told his friends that he might die soon. A year later, the talented director was gone. So there we are, some facts for Hitchcock for you to peruse and think about. So, ladies, we'll go to Corinne first. How hard did you find it to make this top 10 list?
I was able to do top 8. I had a little bit of trouble with 9 and 10. So I did watch a lot, but it was a bit difficult. There's a lot of movies.
There's a lot of movies to see. And you, Jen, what about yourself?
Well, originally I'm like, well, I had my number 1. That was easy. I'm like, I can do the rest of the list, no problem. But like 20 minutes ago, I was still changing stuff because it's tough. Because I'm like, well, I know I've seen a lot. And I had to check. He directed, if you don't count The Silence, he directed 47, and I've seen 31 of them.
Wow, that's some going.
Not
well done.
in my lifetime.
Not in one sitting.
No. I was revisiting a lot, but yeah. And as I was trying to narrow it down, as my sister pointed out, not all of them are winners. That
is very true. Yeah, that is true. So,
you Jamaica in.
Hey, isn't that one of his English films? Shouldn't I be very protective of that one?
Nah.
No, maybe not. Maybe not. So you've been watching them while you're in Italy, Corinne, because obviously you're.
Oh no, they were all done. I stopped watching before I left for my trip, so I did not.
So you had no homework while away on holiday then?
No, this is the end result of the homework I did prior. So
looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. So should we kick right on into it? And, well, you all know the format, don't you? We go through the top 10 up to number 2. We read each other's 10 to 2, and then we reveal the number 1. So if we got the same one, we can then shout, "Oh, I've got this one at number 1," or whatever. We know the process by now, I'm sure. So who should we go to first? Who would like to go to first at number 10?
This is Corinne. Yeah, let Corinne.
Let Corinne.
Okay. My number 10, which I just decided 30 seconds ago, was The Trouble with Harry from 1955. Only because it just becomes, it's not really a thriller. It's more of a comedy of errors. That poor guy gets dug up 3 or 4 times, each thinking they've killed him before. And just watching the psychological of each of the characters who think they killed him.
I don't think I've seen this one. You have to forgive me. I'm just looking it up quickly to see who's in it.
I had the DVD.
Shirley MacLaine.
Yeah.
Yeah, very young Shirley MacLaine. And I don't know if you've got Leave It to Beaver over in the UK, and it's a very young Jerry Mathers as the son.
Okay.
Is it John Forsythe too?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Neil, you might know him as the voice of Charlie in the original Charlie's Angels.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Oh, I've not seen this one. That's got to go on my list. No, I definitely have not seen this one. There's too many to watch, isn't there? But so many things, right? Look, I'm making a note of it now. So you're a fan of this one then, Jen, as well. This is up there.
I had a bunch out from the library and I was trying to get through them. And that one, I'm like, because I haven't seen it. And there's too many to watch. I didn't get to it. So now I have to get it back out of the library.
I'm going to have a look at that one. It's about, it says it's on Amazon, like everything's on Amazon.
Just beautifully shot. It's just like in fall in Vermont, and it's just gorgeous. So
is it in it is in color.
It is in color.
Yeah, that's
one of the later ones.
Yeah, 55.
1955, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to have to put that one on the list. I really am. Brilliant choice. Something already I've got to learn up on. So, Jen, what's your number 10?
I'm kicking it off with 1941's Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Oh, yes, I know this one.
You do? Okay. It's his only screwball. That's really why I wanted to include it, because it's not like most of his other movies. It's and also any excuse to watch the late great Carole Lombard in anything is worth it. So it's Carole Lombard and Robert Montgomery, and it's very silly, and it's very sweet. And there's a scene, I remember it when I watched it again. There's a scene with Robert Montgomery, it's just a little bit of slapstick where he is trying to get his nose to start bleeding, and it is hilarious. It still cracks me up.
Yeah, I must watch it again. Yeah, have you seen this one, Corinne?
I have not, but I will put it on the list. So
I think it's on YouTube. Find it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think because I think a lot of his movies appeared on YouTube now. So
that's how I found most of them. I wasn't going to pay for all of them. So.
Thank you, libraries.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a good one, and it mustn't be confused with the Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie one.
Very different. Very different.
Just same titles. So for my number 10, I went for Rebecca, Laurence Olivier and Joan Fontaine, the old one. So a ghost story, I suppose, set in England. Now, I never used to really like this one when I first watched it, Daphne du Maurier, and then I saw it on the stage. And do you remember the film Young Sherlock Holmes?
Vaguely.
Spielberg. Yeah. Well, the star of that, the young lad, was the guy that was in Rebecca, played the Olivier role. And and it sort of won me over. It sort of introduced me back to the story. And then I watched the movie again with Olivier and fell in love with, well, who doesn't love Olivier's acting? He was just so good. But I fell in love with the ghost story on that. I mean, it's not a scary ghost story, is it at all? Have either of you seen this?
Yes, it's actually my number 8.
Yeah, I'll talk about it later.
Oh, okay.
It's my number 8. So,
well, I'll let you have a say then, Corinne.
Yeah, I just found it. I kind of like character-driven actors, and that, what's her name, the housekeeper was just. I wonder what her problem was.
Mrs. Danvers.
Mrs. Danvers was just so obsessed with the first Mrs.
Played by Judith
De Winter.
Anderson.
So Judith Anderson?
Judith Anderson played Mrs. Danvers. Joan Fontaine was Mrs. De Winter, yeah.
The second Mrs. De Winter.
Oh, yes, of course. We must say that.
Because that's all the name they gave her.
Yeah.
The second Mrs. De Winter. So, but yeah, I find it very intriguing, and it just gets a little creepy towards the end. And then what's it, that scene where she encouraged her to dress like the old Mrs. De Winter, and then the twist at the end. I mean, they all have twists. Where the first Mrs. De Winter, where it wasn't a happy marriage, we'll just say that. And she was she was pregnant by someone else. And I just found it very intriguing, that movie.
It is a very intriguing movie. And like I said, it was they made it a bit darker on stage. They followed the Du Maurier story probably closer than Hitchcock maybe did when he transferred it across. But yeah, it's a great movie. And we'll look forward to hearing more about it, Jen. Maybe.
You'll have to wait a little longer.
Yeah, maybe. So, Corinne, what is your number 9?
I went with Strangers on a Train. Maybe I just like the deranged characters because Bruno is completely deranged and psychotic. So you just see him develop worse and worse and worse. And always almost a romance in all of these stories. And the wife, she's fooling around, and it's, I don't know, for me it was Bruno's performance, that Strangers on a Train, and I found it funny at the end when people started talking to what's his name, Farley Granger's Guy Haynes character. They just walk away. So I just really like this movie.
Yeah, it's been quite a while since I've seen this, so I'm just going to have to refresh myself. Who was the actors in it? So
Farley Granger as Guy Haynes and Robert Walker as Bruno Antony.
Okay. And what year was it?
It was 1951. It was black and white.
Oh, there we are, yeah. Okay, yeah, no, it's been a while. Oh, yeah, because he's the tennis player, isn't it?
He's the tennis player,
star. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, they do play a match.
In a carousel, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the carousel goes a little haywire at the end.
Yeah. Hitchcock did have a way with his movies to change things. I didn't realize it was written by Raymond Chandler, the screenplay. There we are.
And it has his daughter in it. Hitchcock's daughter plays his girlfriend's sister, Barbara. Has Pat Hitchcock in it. She was in a couple of his films. So
Patricia, she's always around.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch that one. It's been such a long time. I bought myself years ago. I mean, I'm gonna have to dust it off and find it. The Alfred Hitchcock box set where they didn't put every movie obviously in, but all the sort of classics, and that's on there. So it's going to trip up to the loft for me to find that one. Absolutely. Jen, so what would be your number 9?
My number 9 is 1941's Suspicion with Joan Fontaine and Cary Grant. Joan Fontaine won the Oscar for that. I've probably seen it. I've seen it a lot, and there's so much that's great about it, except for the ending, which still infuriates me. And that's why I couldn't make it higher, because it feels like the whole movie is setting up towards something. And then at the end, it's just over. And you're like, wait, what? Because there was something, apparently the studio didn't want Cary Grant to be the bad guy. So the ending kind of, I don't know what it seems very forced because no one wanted to see Cary as the villain. But probably the most famous scene you see in clips all the time is him coming up the stairs with the tray with the milk on it, and the milk is glowing. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, it's a great movie. It is a very great movie. Yes. Cary Grant, is he your favorite of Hitchcock's leading men, would you say?
Well, I mean, I don't know how I would have answered it, but after this list, I'm like, I guess he is.
Certainly, I know iconic.
It's not his first appearance on my list.
Didn't they? I mean, I may be wrong. I'm just trying to have a look here, and I can't see it. But didn't they try and make a TV remake? Which just totally lost the point of this film. They must have remade it. I'm sure.
A Suspicion? I don't know.
Just having a look. I can't see it. Well, I seem to remember a TV. It might have just been a British TV adaptation, but God,
it's possible. I mean, I feel lots of his stuff has been. I mean, the source. A lot of them were books and short stories. So. I guess anyone can give him a stab.
Have you seen this one, Corinne?
I actually have, and the ending kept it out of my top 10. It's an honorable mention. Yeah. I was hoping for more at the end. So
I think you and me in agreement. Yeah, it didn't make my top 10 either on that one, I'm afraid.
It was tough.
It is a tough one.
At the end, I was, you're on board.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah. Well, my number 9 is Rope. So again, it's just a story, isn't it? A great crime story that gets you guessing all the way through. It's James Stewart, who I think is possibly my favourite of Hitchcock's leading men. I just love Jimmy Stewart's acting and the way he is on screen. But Farley Granger again in this one, isn't it? Have you both? Yes, I
have seen this. And
it's been a long time, but yeah.
It was fine. It was fine. I kind of like the cat and mouse game, but it didn't make my top 10. So
this is one of the ones that I remember always watching with my grandfather when he was still alive, and I was a young boy many moons ago. And I just found it engaging. There was a few films. This one, another film that I've mentioned on another podcast called League of Gentlemen, which is a black and white film, where it just got me as a sort of, I don't know, 10, 12-year-old sat with my grandfather really guessing. Like you said, the cat and mouse aspect. Jimmy Stewart always is engaging and grips you in. And yeah, it's one of the ones I've watched probably more recently, apart from my top 3. Yeah, I'm a fan of this one. It doesn't get that much mention anymore when you read about Hitchcock, and I'm never too sure why, but maybe you were right, Corinne, in what you said.
It's most famous for the long the shots, like there's only like 4 or 5 edits or something, and
that's right.
It takes place in one apartment, so
right. But they do that which a lot of directors have actually tried to replicate. You know, Goodfellas did it and things like that, and Boogie Nights. But it's like those continuous shots, which must have been in those days crazily hard to do without the technology that we've got.
Right.
So, Corinne, your number 8 was Rebecca.
Yes.
Great choice, as we said. Jen, what is your number 8?
My number 8 is 1940s Foreign Correspondent with the very handsome Joel McCrea and Lorraine Day. Does anyone know this one?
Well, I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. So encourage us to come and watch it, Jen. Encourage us.
Well, there's a scene in a windmill with no dialogue, and it's just this. It's so cool. Like, just all these gears are spinning and clunk, and Joel McCrea is just kind of moving through. And of course, there's espionage and all that stuff. And then there's the other famous scene is this plane crash. at the end, which even watching now, you're like, that's intense. I don't know how they did that. I mean, yeah, it's a lot of, they crash into the ocean. And apparently they finished shooting, like, historically right before they had to go back and add an ending because it's about he's a reporter in Europe and there's a threat coming from the rest of Europe without being very specific. And I guess the movie, they had to redo the ending or add an ending because it came out right before the Battle of Britain right before the Nazis started bombing London.
Right.
They kind of tagged this ending on with him, Joel McCrea giving this speech, in solidarity that we're with you in England, kind of thing. But you should definitely check it out. And their chemistry, Joel McCrea and Lorraine Day, is really fun too.
That's something that Hitchcock has always done in all of his films. It's the chemistry, isn't it? It's finding the right actor for the right roles. He was a master of that. I mean, you do see a lot of older films, and sometimes I think, well, why did they cast that? But yeah, you never question it with Hitchcock, do you?
Mm-mm.
It's on my list. I put it on the list to watch.
So have I. I'm hoping it's in my box set when I finally make my way up into the
for sure,
into the loft. I can't remember exactly what's on it. So, excuse me. So my number 8 is To Catch a Thief. I mean, this is a classic movie. I think it is. It always seems to be on the lists of people's top 10. It's Cary Grant again. There we are. Again, it didn't make either of your lists.
No, honorable mention. I love where it shot, though, the south of France. So it was beautiful. The location was beautiful. So
yeah, absolutely. And Cary Grant playing the jewel thief or retired jewel thief, and when he's obviously trying to prove his innocence in this, isn't he? And things, and the wonderful Grace Kelly, the beautiful Grace Kelly in it. It's just like you said, the south of France, the location, the story, the acting, as we always said. It's another one that wins me over. It beguiles me. It just makes me. Yeah, I love watching those sort of films. It's a bit like Belle de Jour when you see that and you can sit and appreciate the beauty and everything, not always knowing what the hell's going on. You're doing To Catch a Thief, but in the others, you don't always know what the hell's going on. But you're waved over by that beauty and everything. And again, well written, well acted. I think it's one of those ones that may be a great introduction to Hitchcock, maybe, to me, without going to the absolute... what I think of the classics. If you wanted to deep dive, that's a good one to start with. But what about you, Jen?
I've seen it. Cary Grant is always fabulous. I never been a huge Grace Kelly fan.
No.
I mean, one of the most beautiful women that ever lived, easily, but I was never really bowled over by her acting.
I always think sometimes when you get to the 1950s style of acting, it's always quite hard to gauge because they always have this enunciation and the way they talk. But quite possibly right. I mean, I'm just won over by the beauty on that one.
Oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. Yeah, you can see why a prince tracked her down and let's marry her.
Do you think all princes do that? Or am I always wrong in thinking they always go for frogs? Oh, that's princesses, isn't it?
Not princesses, right.
Dear. So where are we at? So number 7. Corinne, what is your number 7?
Some might think this is too low on the list. It's Vertigo with Jimmy Stewart.
That's my number 5.
It's not higher. I got a little annoyed by the obsession. But it is a great film. And it was just, he is hired to follow a wife, and obviously he kind of sets him up. And then he just becomes so obsessed with this woman. That's what kind of kept it at 7. So I got a little annoyed towards the end. he wanted to change her hair. He wanted to dress her exactly the way it was. And I mean, at the end, he does get over his fear of heights. So, I mean,
yeah.
but yeah, San Francisco area. But I do love Jimmy Stewart. So,
Yeah.
sure.
Are you a fan of this one, Jen?
It's been a while since I've seen it, and I wanted to watch it again. It's still sitting at the library waiting for me to pick it up. But I remember I didn't think it was gonna really. I don't think I would have made the list even watching again. As much as I love Jimmy Stewart, it's like you said that I didn't like seeing Jimmy Stewart like that. It's just a little too twisted. But yeah, I mean, it looks a beautiful look and all that. But yeah, I think it was just a little. Yeah, there's some ickiness to the obsession that I don't.
But I do love the twist. I do love the twist of what happened, but the obsession was just.
But that's a theme that appears in quite a few of Hitchcock's movies, though, isn't it? The obsession. I mean,
I guess I didn't want to see Jimmy Stewart because I do love Jimmy Stewart. I don't want to. See
but it's bravery. Well, that's very true. None of us want to see George Bailey doing things like that, do we?
No.
But but it was that's what I admired. I think, Jimmy Stewart did something a little bit different and out of the ordinary. And back in those days, to do something like that could almost be career ending. So it's, it wasn't a bad performance at all, was it?
No, he was great at it. It just got annoying, the obsession. So
yeah, but it's also one of the highest rated on. I've just had a quick bring up on IMDb. It's one of the highest ratings of Hitchcock's films on IMDb. Which was surprising. Kim Novak, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, here we go. Right. So, number 7 for you, Jen.
I went with 1938's The Lady Vanishes. It's a lot of fun. Like many of Hitchcock movies, there's a lot of action on a train. He does love a train. It's Michael Redgrave and Margaret Lockwood. And have you guys seen this one?
Yes, almost made the list. I had 3 that I just couldn't decide on. So it was like, okay, we'll bump that one. But it is a good film. So
and you'll have to educate me. I've not seen the Hitchcock version. I saw it.
They have remade it. I mean, it's really, for 1938, it's the woman, it's the delightful Dame May Whitty, who seems like this doddering old governess, and she vanishes from the train, and Margaret Lockwood is like, she was here, and everyone is like, no, she wasn't. But each of those people they're lying because they have other motives. Like they don't want the train to stop, basically. So they all keep, and she's like, am I losing my mind? Like, I know I saw this woman, and everyone's like, there was no woman. You were by yourself. And so it's all, so she's trying to piece it all together. And there are these 2 characters named Charters and Caldecott, are these 2 very British gentlemen. All they care about is the cricket match.
Yes.
That's it. And they're trying to get scored. And the whole time, like, that's the reason they lie, because if they are delayed, they're not going to get back in time for the cricket match. And apparently those characters are so popular, they pop up in other movies over the years and maybe radio plays and stuff. So a lot of fun characters in that. And it can get, and Margaret Lockwood's character, like, she joins in a fist fight, and she's like totally scrappy and tough. And you don't really see that in 1938, where the woman instead is just like, oh, and she's in there like biting and punching.
Yes.
So it's worth it. You should definitely check that one out.
Oh, that's going on my list to watch that version. But again, full of great performances. Then there's something Hitchcock does so well as bring out the strong performances from his actors. I mean, you read things. I don't know whether you've seen the biogs about Hitchcock. Have you? The one with Anthony Hopkins was good. And was it Toby Jones? Was he?
Yes, I usually, if something Hitchcock related is on, I try to watch it.
I haven't seen it, but
because none of those paint Hitchcock very well at all, do they? Very well at all. So yeah.
Issues.
Sorry.
No. He had some issues.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
yeah. But those issues obviously were what made it him how he was, I suppose, in what he'd made and film wise. So my number 7 is Marnie.
I haven't seen it.
Have you not?
Running out of time, so
It was just a little too. Yeah, you know which scene I mean, Neil. It was a little problematic.
It is. And I completely agree. And obviously, if it was made now, we'd have to change that.
Yes.
We would definitely have to change that.
I'll confess, Neil, that in college, I did a film paper on it just so I could watch Sean Connery over and over again.
Oh yes, a young Sean Connery, and
looks really good in that movie.
In the height of his Bond film, yeah, and Tippi Hedren again, who was in The Birds, she's in there. Now you see, the reason I put this in there, I traveled. This is probably 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Traveled all the way back down to London to go and watch this, so I could see a couple of Hitchcock films on the big screen. Now I'd never seen Marnie until I saw it on the big screen, and it really, really blew me away. I mean, it wasn't at all what I was expecting, story-wise. Didn't 20 years ago sort of pick up on the problematic. It was only when I rewatched it for this that I know exactly what you're talking about, Jen. But it's basically, it's a very psychological film, very psychological. I would still say it's worth watching, completely worth watching, especially Sean Connery is very hit and miss. Even back then he was very hit and miss, but in this one he was very, very good. And didn't this cause it won some Oscar, or didn't win an Oscar, and got a lot of people saying, I can't remember, I'm waffling now because I can't remember what I was going to say. But it's a very good film in that sense. Put it on your list and give it.
I did. It's on the list. So
it's on the list.
It's the debut or a very early appearance of Bruce Dern.
Was it really?
Oh, okay.
That the flashback of what happened to her. I think it's a famous shot with
was he the sailor?
I think, yeah, and it's the shot where it's like zoom in and how does he do? It's like he zooms in and pans out.
He does the two.
The camera does this weird movement, and that it's a lot. Marnie's very damaged, clearly, and so there's a lot of all that going on. Sean Connery's methods to make her better are not
the best. No.
Conventional.
no, it will play on you. But oh my God, thinking of it, he was the sailor. He must have been.
Yeah.
Crikey.
Fun fact.
Yeah. Well, every day's a learning day. So number 6, Corinne.
Dial M for Murder from 1954 with Jen's favorite actress, Grace Kelly. So
great minds think alike.
Love the red dress.
That's my number 6 as well.
I just loved it because obviously you know what happens. This is a good cat and mouse game. Who's going to outsmart who? Is the police, and it was just, and then you have him, Tony, he played by Ray Milland, and he just gets an old, blackmails people, try to kill the wife.
He's very smug.
Yes.
No.
And then that one, Hitchcock is in the picture and the old school photo. So that's his cameo. But I just love the cat and mouse game of this. I even like the semi-remake. Was it with Gwyneth Paltrow?
Oh.
Perfect Murder or something like that. It was based off of this one. So I actually like that film too. So
again, sort of dark undertones, with somebody arranging a murder of his wife, trying to get her killed. And
right.
Yes.
For the time, like I said before, it's subject matters that weren't really being addressed, or they were just starting to, and he was full into them by then, Hitchcock. So yeah, but like you said, a great cat and mouse. Great cat and mouse.
And I think it was a play, which is why it's really contained in just that apartment for the most part. So yeah, no, that, I mean, I rewatched that recently, and for Grace Kelly.
Oh my goodness.
You give it a higher score.
But I did notice, I almost started making a list. Hitchcock loves a knife in the back.
Yes.
Oh God, yeah.
The murder method. Knife in the
In
back.
this case, it was scissors, I believe. It's whatever
Right.
she could have grabbed. But yeah, he does love that.
Like a sack of potatoes.
He used it on his posters a lot, didn't he? I mean, I don't really recall the Hitchcock TV series. I know of it. I've seen clips of it. I've looked at bits on YouTube, but it wasn't something that was overly shown in the UK when I was growing up. Did either of you watch the TV series?
No, but I know of it. I might have watched like a rerun of it at some point. I just remember the theme song a little, dun, 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 whatever the theme. Yeah, but
and he always came walking out.
Yes.
Do you see this?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Do you see what? That's from my childhood. I dragged it out. It's Alfred Hitchcock's Ghost Stories for Children. And there was a book too. And they scared me so much, but we listened to it over and over again. Oh. And he comes in and introduces it. And there's like this, so he comes in between the stories and he's like in a house and the water's rising. I don't know what's flooding. He's kind of like, I'm going to drown. He's like, here's the next story. But yeah, I did find it like you can go to YouTube and search it and someone's just recorded, like you could just listen to the whole album on YouTube.
Oh.
And you might listen and be like, Jen was scared of this.
No, I can understand wholeheartedly. Was it just Ghost Stories for Kids?
I think that, yeah. Oh, sorry. Alfred Hitchcock presents Ghost Stories for Young People. And I think it's a companion book.
Okay, young people.
Yeah. But still, I mean, I don't know. I think some of them still hold up. There's one with squirrels that's just like, it's weird. But no, yeah, you can find that on YouTube as we get close to Halloween.
Oh, I'll have a look. I will have a look and have a listen. I'm always intrigued in things like this. So, Jen, what is your number 6?
My number 6 is 1946 Notorious with Cary Grant and Ingrid Bergman. Do you guys know this one?
Yeah.
I'll talk about it a bit later.
Okay. I rewatched it recently. I hadn't seen it for ages, but it's very romantic. It's very sexy. Like that. I mean, the suspense barely is there, like 1 or 2 scenes, but the two of them, yeah, pretty good.
The reason it hasn't made my top 10 is I'm not overly familiar. It's been a long time, and I didn't want to try and get into something that I couldn't remember all of. But
right.
Yeah, it's going to have to go back up and watch, aren't I? I really am.
Right. It's probably most famous. I don't know, Corinne, if you're going to mention this, the on-screen kiss, because at the time there was like a 3-second rule or something like that. Like the codes. No characters for 3 seconds. And he managed to have a kiss go on for 2 minutes in this very, I don't know, how would you say it? It's like the camera's following them and they're almost like nibbling on each other, but it's like one long kiss, but the way it's cut, the censors got it.
Yes.
Saucy.
Neil writes it down on his list.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So I had at number 6 Dial M for Murder. Jen was Notorious. So we're at that halfway point where I can try and give you the quiz. So who would like to go first? Who would like to go second? Corinne, you're our guest. Would you like to go first or second?
I'll go first.
Okay. Are we both ready?
Ready?
No, but let's go.
You'll be all right. So, what was Hitchcock's first? Oh, sorry. What movie was Hitchcock's directorial debut?
I don't have an answer. Was it like Garden in Paradise or anything like that?
Oh, you were so close.
Oh.
You are so close. Sounds like you'd be watching this while watching Notorious. Do you know, Jen?
Are you? See, I don't know The Silence, but oh my gosh, I was going to go The Lodger, but I know that's wrong.
It is. Yeah, it is The Pleasure Garden.
Oh, okay.
You were so close. So close.
So close.
So, Jen, how many films did he win an Oscar for?
Like as director?
Hitchcock, yeah.
0.
Congratulations. Oh, I forgot to say it's the first to 3 if you listen to the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He
Kareem.
was robbed.
He was robbed. It was,
yeah, I think they gave him a lifetime one.
Just, yeah.
From the end of his life.
Because they probably thought, oh, shit. Forgot about him.
They're probably looking at those like, wait, Hitchcock's never won one of these? Oops.
Yeah. Let's better rectify that one quick. Okay, Corinne, how many stars does Hitchcock have on the Hollywood Walk of Fame?
1?
Is that your final answer? Okay. Yeah. Jen, do you know? I'm afraid it's not.
Okay, if he has one for movies, I expect one for TV. What else do they give stars for? I don't think of him as a radio. I'm going to say 2.
You're right to say 2, Jen. Congratulations. Could have given him one for cigar smoking or something.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. Okay, you can pull it back, Corinne. It's easily done. Honestly, easily.
It's okay. I'm not a sore loser. Relax.
You're in Italy. What do you care?
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm fine.
Have you got fed up with pasta and pizza yet?
I'm in Sorrento, and so there's a lot of seafood. So I had seafood tonight. So it was good.
Nice.
Yeah.
And famous for its ham as well, isn't it? Sorrento ham. Or what you call it.
So,
yeah. We'll both be over tomorrow, Jen, shall we? Shall we nip and go and have a meal with Corinne?
Well, we can meet in Naples for some pizza.
Okay.
I'll be there next week, so I can meet you next week. So
okay. Gotcha.
That'll do.
Calling for airline reservations.
Yeah. Right, Corinne. So how many films did Hitchcock serve as director?
$48. I don't know. So
that's not a bad guess. Jen?
Again, I only know the sound ones. I haven't, if you're counting the silence, because he did a bunch. So 55?
Again, notorious number 69.
Oh, of course. I should have guessed with this podcast.
He did 16. Well, I mean, there's no reason for that number to be rude, is there? I don't know.
No.
Right. Jen, what role does Paul Newman play in 1966's Torn Curtain?
I know it's with Julie Andrews, and it's one I haven't. I don't remember. If I've seen it, it's been too long. I don't remember.
Do you know, Corinne?
I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
Nor have I, but apparently he was a rocket scientist.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
He likes to tear curtains.
Yeah. That was what he was, rocket fuel. Okay, Corinne. Where in 1939's Jamaica Inn was set? Where was it set? It's quite a straightforward one.
Jamaica?
No, unfortunately not.
Or is it or is it like Jersey, like an island off the coast of England? I'm not sure. I haven't seen it, so.
Never mind. Oh, sorry. Jen, do you know?
I did watch it a while ago, and I believe it's based on Daphne du Maurier's story. So I'm going to go Cornwall.
You're spot on. England, Cornwall, England. Absolutely.
Daphne loves Cornwall.
Well done, Jen. You've won the quiz.
Congratulations.
Your prize is in the post.
Thanks.
Yeah. But yes, you can still visit Jamaica Inn. It's still considered one of the most haunted places in the UK, and it's still there in Cornwall. It's where all the smugglers first used to come on shore. And
I thought it was weird. It's kind of weird. I don't know. I don't need to see it again.
Maybe, if you visited it.
I think it's a very young Maureen O'Hara, I think, is in that one.
I was going to say it's been a long, long time. I don't even think I've seen the Hitchcock one. Really don't. But
wasn't it a show in English, a British show?
Jamaica, yeah, I think it was. They did do a serial of it, a 4-part or a 5-parter. Yeah, I think they redid it again, based like they did when they remade Rebecca and My Cousin Rachel and everything like that of Du Maurier. They some of them were good, some of them not so good. Right, Corinne, what is your number 5?
It is 1943's Shadow of a Doubt.
Ooh, not seeing this one.
That's my 3.
It's, you just see this girl who adores her uncle just slowly start to put things together, and then you just see her just, oh my God, my uncle is a horrible person. So you just start to see the wheels, and yet the family has no clue. She's the only one that's putting the things together. And of course, there's a little romance on the side with the police officer. It's Hitchcock. Yeah, so the character development of that young girl just slowly the realization, and then all these little accidents that start to happen to her because of the uncle. She falls through the stairs. She gets locked in the garage, and almost dies falling off a train. There's another train, so.
Loves the train.
Yes, so I actually really like this film, so it was really good.
I'm gonna have to put it on. I'm gonna have to put it on the list. Is it another psychological type?
I mean, there's a psychological aspect, I would say, right, Corinne? It's just
it's not like a psychological crime thriller film, but you just see the brain just start to the realization.
I think it was his first American or shot in America, and it sort of reminded me, which I haven't seen in a bazillion years, like the David Lynch Blue Velvet, like all these, it's like a perfect small American town, and you see like smiling people and policemen waving, and then this evil presence arrives by train.
Of course, by train.
Shatter the innocence. But the reason, Neil, I think you need to put on your list, it features Henry Travers, otherwise known as
from
Clarence.
It's a Wonderful Life.
The angel from your favorite movie. And he always has like those little fun side characters, like, well, they're like you said, like the niece is figuring all this out about her uncle, and then Henry Travers is the dad, which is bizarre because he was like 70 and there's like an 8-year-old daughter.
And a young son. And I'm just like, doesn't match.
But so he has this friend Hume Cronin, who's like this weird little, and they get together and just discuss murder. Like they're obsessed with crime fiction. So they're always talking about like how to murder people, and like Joseph Cotton's just sort of like.
But the friend actually saves the niece, Charlie, because he's the one who rescues her from the garage. So
Works out.
It's a good one, Neil. Got to check it out.
It's on my list. It's gone on my list. It really has. So, Jen, what is your number 5?
1944's Lifeboat.
Okay, it's been a long time
the
since.
Bankhead and a bunch of actors I couldn't name. Hugh Coleman. There's another Hugh. He's in there too. So I don't know if you guys know this one.
I do. It's a long time since I've seen it. This is where their boat's torpedoed, isn't it? And they're on
it's literally the whole thing takes place on a lifeboat. And the way he got his cameo was someone on the boat has a newspaper.
That's right.
And he has there's like a before and after, because apparently around that time in real life, Hitchcock had lost like 100 pounds. There's like a before and after picture for like some weight loss drug that someone holds up in the paper. But I mean, I can't imagine the shoot. Like, I think they were in this soundstage with just water getting I feel like everyone in the cast got pneumonia and was sick.
Trench foot.
Yes, exactly. And it was very controversial at the time. It's 1944. So these people, there's a boat that's torpedoed, and it's these 10 people on a lifeboat, and they pull up a German sailor onto the boat with them. And I guess it was controversial at the time because people thought he was portrayed sympathetically, the Nazi.
Yeah.
I think watching it now, you think of it was in the midst of the war, and it sort of shows people like you have to come together to fight this common enemy. Like, I remember thinking, like, if I had seen that movie and I was British in 1944, I would have probably watched and been like, oh, those Nazis mean business. Like, they're not playing by any rules that we've ever, as far as warfare or whatever. Like, they are in this to win it. And he is diabolical, but like in the psychological games he's playing with these people on the boat, it's good. It's really good.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
I added it to the list. I haven't seen it, so
we've all got a lot of homework, haven't we?
I know.
You had a lot of films. I had to pick and choose. So.
I know. It was very tough.
69.
So I still haven't even seen half of them.
No. I don't think I ever will, probably, as much as I'd like to. There's so much else to watch. That's the problem nowadays. There's too much things to watch all the time.
And these are hard to find. Sadly, these are hard to track down.
They are. They are now. They really are. So my number 5 was Vertigo. We spoke about that. So Corinne, your number 4, please.
Psycho from 1960 with a young Anthony Perkins and Jamie Lee Curtis's mother, Janet Leigh. So I wasn't sure going to like this one. I don't tend to like a huge lot of violent films, which is why I kind of like Hitchcock, because I like the psychological thrillers. But this violence wasn't too bad. And it's just Anthony Perkins, I guess, psychotic person. And I don't know, it's just an iconic movie, and I just ended up really liking it. So I
mean, I'll probably talk about this later because I think this film, obviously, it kick-started a revolution to me in cinema. And now I'm a big fan of horror movies. People might know this, people might not. I just suddenly realized I'm wearing The Exorcist on my shirt.
Yes, I see that.
Yeah. This, to me, changed horror films for the better. It taught people that it takes you out of what you think is going to happen and the norm into the realms of the unexpected. I mean, the first time I saw it, I really didn't twig at all that he was the mother. I mean, everybody's the same.
Yeah, that was a nice twist there.
It was a big twist, big twist. Probably, I would think, the most famous twist in movie history, I would think.
Yes.
It was just it just had an air of dread the whole time. And like you said, it's not particularly violent. It's more plays on your mind.
Yes.
And God forbid nobody should ever watch that remake that Gus Van Sant did.
No.
Don't worry, I won't. And I haven't, so
yeah, please
I'll stick to this one. So
try to do it shot by shot. I gave it a chance. I don't think I've ever been so bored.
Did you
I went to the cinema to see it, and I was the only one in the screen. I thought I'll go because my partner at the time, I always remember she went to see that film with Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman. That's something magic, perfect magic, practical magic. And I said, "You guys go and see that. I'll go and check this out. I've been talking about it. How I wish I went to see Practical Magic." Honestly, it was dreadful.
Yeah. Well, I think when you talk about how it changed the game, and we might not have that perspective, but I guess in 1960, the fact that Janet Leigh was one of the biggest movie stars in the world, and she's killed within the first half
part of the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, the first quarter of the movie.
So audiences then would have been like, "Oh, they didn't just to kill Janet Leigh. You know, that can't be." And then like this fear of that, like, well, then who's safe if Janet Leigh has a half hour in the movie?
I love having the cat thrown, the cat thrown into the pigeons like that. It changes everything that you takes away your safety net, and that's what Hitchcock did there. And like I said, changed the horror genre. He really did. And the fact that she wasn't, she was on the run herself. She'd stolen the money, hadn't she? She was
not innocent.
No.
Well, I don't know if that justifies her.
No, of course not. But
it doesn't justify being stabbed to death in the shower, but
it was his mother, Corinne.
Right. And my mom was in college when that movie came out, and she talks about how, they would scare each other in the showers. Like how terrifying it would be to this is hilarious. I mean, oh my gosh.
I mean, my dad, I probably got my love of horror from my dad. I mean, he used to let me watch a TV series in the UK called Hammer House of Horror, which was Christopher Lee sort of stuff. And I just used to love it. I mean, it terrified me. But I used to enjoy that sort of ghost train ride. But my dad always spoke about seeing Psycho at the cinema in 1960 and saying that it truly terrified him back then. Yeah. So it did. It changed things. For sure.
I respect, I would have put on my list, but unlike you, I am terrified of horror movies. And this movie still freaks me out. So I wasn't willing to watch it again.
No, that's absolutely fair. That ending, that last shot stays with you for good, doesn't it? It really does.
He wanted her to fly.
Yeah. So, Jen, your number 4 then, please.
1956, The Man Who Knew Too Much. Because I had to get a Jimmy Stewart in there. So that's Jimmy Stewart, Doris Day. It's a remake, sort of. There was, I think it was 1934. He was the first movie, The Man Who Knew Too Much, with Peter Lorre.
And they've remade it since, haven't they?
Hitchcock remade his own film, oddly enough. But I don't know if you've seen this one, but I mean, I love Doris Day. Love Doris Day, and you might know her for like the Rock Hudson kind of rom-com, but she plays, Jimmy Stewart's a doctor, and his wife Jo, they are on a holiday in Morocco with their son, and she was
they changed the location.
Huh?
They changed the location from because I saw the 1934 one, so I was like, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, they were in the mountains. And there's a scene. The acting, Doris Day, it's such a powerful scene. So basically they're there with their son and they meet people that are kind of, not who they say they are. And their son gets kidnapped. And there's a scene, like Jimmy Stewart knows, and he has to tell her that they've taken the son, and he doesn't want her to, it's very chilling. He doesn't want her to become hysterical like women do. So he takes sedatives out of his medical bag and he makes her take these sedatives before he tells her what happened. And so she starts getting hysterical while like getting sedated. And and then it's good. And then they come back to London. So there's scenes in London because they're trying to track their son down. And another very famous scene in the Royal Albert Hall, Neil.
Yeah.
So, and there's a symphony playing, and there's no dialogue for like 12 minutes. And it's just the suspense, because she knows there's an assassin somewhere, but she doesn't. It's like in the middle of this concert, and it still holds up. So that's my number 4. Oh, and it won best song Oscar for the earworm Que Sera Sera.
Oh, right. Okay.
Or say things for what feels like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'm going to have to watch that one. It's one of the ones that's passed me by. Didn't Bill Murray do a remake of it as well? Further down the line, he might have done.
I don't know why Bill Murray would do that.
Well, they probably turned it into a comedy.
Like a parody of some sort, right?
Yeah, maybe. So my number 4 is The Birds. Yes, a horror.
And you like the horror. It still freaks me out, Neil.
He does it. Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit more uncomfortable watching it, knowing how he treated the lead actress in that movie. When you watch the biog that they did, I mean, it makes you feel a bit more uncomfortable, especially animal cruelty as well. Probably would never get made now, but it's still, to make something so everyday that you see every day terrifying is an art. To think about these birds and the sinisterness of them, I don't know, ganging up on you, as it were, we should say, and attacking. It's a real art to me, and it is terrifying. You know, the bits with just, all of them. Have you ever seen this one, Corinne? No?
I have, and once is enough. I am with old Allie McKay when she didn't like the birds when she lived in LA. I do not like the birds. So I'm not a fan.
So you have a lot of birds in LA, do you?
I don't live in LA. I live in Orange County. So not too many. So,
Not
but
too
except San Juan Capistrano at certain times of the year.
A bit north of, I don't live down there either. So, it was horrifying. It was scary. Not a fan.
Well, fair enough.
Even now, like if you're somewhere walking, whatever, and you see 6 birds on a telephone wire, don't you start?
Yes. Yeah, I'm like, nope, just keep walking.
But that's what's so great. I mean, it's a bit like they almost parodied it in Finding Nemo, didn't they? With the seagulls, mine, and they get more and more.
Right.
But yeah, it's like I said, it's something every day that we see and are around. I mean, obviously people have phobias of birds and things, but he really mastered the craft in that movie of taking something every day and turning it into something terrifying. And yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of that.
And I think another Daphne du Maurier adaptation.
Is it really? There you go. I'm learning everything all the time. But I was going to say, with my horror, I'm not a person that I mean, I'll sit through, the things like that are being released as we record this, The Nun 2 and that. But that to me is just a ghost train ride, just quiet, boo. And that bores me. I'm just like, that's not scary. I like the psychological. I like it to work its way in, and you're driving home at night or you're sitting in bed at night and you're thinking about the movie. That's a winner. Some people call me strange for it, but I think, as the film experts say, there's a very fine line between comedy and horror. So there we are.
And Hitchcock his suspense always had the comedy. That's the other thing. There was always as soon as to break the tension, there would be something silly so he was really good at that too.
Yeah, absolutely. He was.
I don't remember a lot of humor in The Birds though. It's pretty intense.
Well, in the beginning, when she's in the bird shop before it becomes scary, she kind of has that flirtation with the guy. And so she was a little bit sassy a little bit. So it was kind of.
It was light-hearted there, wasn't it? Yeah. We'll be sending bird tweets all over now. Right. So, Corinne, your number 3, please.
1959's North by Northwest.
Great minds think alike again. That's my number 3 as well.
With Cary Grant and Eva Marie Saint. And it was kind of a good espionage. There's always a little bit of a twist, and I just found it very entertaining, that film.
It was, and obviously, I mean, we talk about iconic, we've talked about iconic, and we try not to use that word, but I still think the airplane over the field where he's trying to evade it is still probably the most iconic scene in one of the most iconic scenes in movie history. And it's the tension that it builds in that movie to me.
Yes, and the government knows he's not the real agent because that agent doesn't exist.
That's right.
And he's just running for his life, but they don't actually step in till
pretty late.
It's just really late, and this poor guy could have been dead by the time
And
they
were kind of like, good luck.
Oh well,
yeah. But again, Cary Grant in this one as well he's smouldering in this one, isn't he? Because he's an older Cary Grant for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Older Cary Grant.
From Bristol.
I'll talk about it soon.
He was born in Bristol, which is very much near where myself and Pav live. Literally 40 minutes down the road, and that's where he was born. Was it Archibald Leach, wasn't it?
Yep.
Okay.
See why he changed his name.
Yeah.
Which is the character John Cleese in A Fish Called Wanda named himself Archie Leach.
That's right.
Because of Cary Grant.
Yeah, a very good movie indeed. So number 3, Jen, was Shadow of Doubt for you. Number 3 for myself is North by Northwest. So we're all the way back round to you again, Corinne, for your number 2.
My number 2 is 1954's Rear Window.
You've been copying my list.
I didn't know. I just spoke to you today.
No,
I don't know. Great minds think alike.
It is.
My number 1's probably different from the rest of yours, but
yeah, Rear
Jimmy
Window.
Stewart liked him a bit better in this one, and of course, Jen's favorite actress, Grace Kelly.
Fabulous clothes. Love her. Watch it for the wardrobe.
Because she's basically like a socialite, fashionista, but kind of gets a little gritty in this one. She's all for jumping in and helping out since he can't really move. So, and then and that has Raymond Burr in it. I don't know if you were a Perry Mason fan. I love to watch the reruns of Perry Mason. So, and he's just a photographer. He starts spying. He's got nothing else to do. Very hot, and then he gets his nurse and his girlfriend partner to go digging, so to speak. And that poor dog. You've ever seen it? That poor dog. And no, I was not a fan of that part, but
that was the first. It had to have been in the 80s or something. It came out. It was re-released in the movie theaters, and I remember we went as a family, and that was the first, to see it on the big screen, and it kind of blew my mind. Yeah.
I was a bit young in the 80s for me to go watch Rear Window, so my parents didn't take me. So,
but it's almost a little bit uncomfortable how much of a voyeur he becomes. Literally,
yes.
You're not seeing things like you did. I mean, it's still. Do you remember that Sharon Stone film they did, which was inspired by Rear Window? That Sliver, was it?
Sliver.
And it's like, that's
Not
just
good.
taking it good and taking it too far. Whereas, when you watch Rear Window, you're almost uncomfortable with Jimmy Stewart's voyeurism.
Yeah.
He's prying his neighbours' windows, isn't he, into what's going on,
and all the neighbors' windows are open, and you have that
he has curtains.
blonde and one, bouncing around in her apartment, half dressed, and so that's a little eerie part on that part. But at the same time, he's kind of stuck. Kind of ironically, at the end, the other leg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's another thing that's parodied. I mean, you've done well, or anything's done well if the Simpsons parody it, and they did it with Bart Simpson, didn't they? When he was stuck in the wheelchair with his broken leg and started spying, getting his sister to go into the opposite, was it the Flanders house, and go and steal. So there's a big element in there of Rear Window.
Yes.
But this is the film that I say, if you're not a big fan of horror, or if you're not a big fan of black and white, it's the one that I think is your introduction to Hitchcock. It's a great introduction because it's quite an easy one to follow. Some of them,
Yes.
you get the twists and the turns, and you lose sort of the narrative of where it's going. But this one, to me, is just straightforward. Exactly, you follow it. It's not painting by numbers, but it's clever and it's accessible to everyone.
Yes, and
this one.
Hitchcock likes trains. He also likes apartments. So
He does. He certainly does. So remember to keep your curtains drawn, guys, and no parading around half dressed. Me, on the other hand, I will be.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
If you don't show up for one of these episodes, we know what happened.
yeah, that's me. That is me. So
Was it too traumatic for you to see him in the cast?
Oh no! Do you know, Jen? To this day, all I've had is a brace fitted on my leg. I've never had a cast yet, and in my life, I've never had a cast. So even when they operated on my ankle, they didn't give me a cast. It was one of these stupid.
For the Rear Window special.
Yeah, Neil in a brace, on his crutches, slowly walking around and falling around. So, Jen, what was your number 2?
Oh my gosh! One moment, please.
Drum roll.
I know, I'm so excited to say. You guys already talked about Rebecca, 1940. I've probably seen this, probably one of the more than a lot of the other ones. I remember when I was still living in LA, we went to a screening at the Pantages Theater for it, and that was cool to see on the big screen. And his daughter introduced it, Patricia Hitchcock. Like you mentioned before, Judith Anderson is still terrifying as Mrs. Danvers. I love me some George Sanders. He's just so delicious and oily and wicked and charming, and that's how he is in this. But he's also, I forgot, he's in Foreign Correspondent, and it's one of the few times he's kind of like the good guy, because he's always sort of like this villainous kind of thing. So the sets are unbelievable. It's gorgeous. I know it's all soundstage. Hitchcock also loves rear projection and some miniatures, because I guess Manderley was all miniatures. And I think it's one of the examples of I think the movie is better than the book, which I don't think happens all the time. I remember reading the book, I don't know, decades ago, and I was like, meh. And I probably picked it up again a couple years ago, and I still did not like it. It's it's probably like the play. They changed it. Mm. It's very clear he's a murderer in the book.
Yeah.
And that, the movies back then, you couldn't get away with murder. Like, the murder had to be punished. And so they had the reveal at the end is this very elaborate, like, she fell and she hit her head, but he was going to do this. And you think she's pregnant, but we couldn't have had that either because she was pregnant by someone else. So they had to change all that kind of stuff. And then it kind of ends. And in the book, I just remember that main character, the second Mrs. De Winter, she's just such this little mouse, and she just mopes around the whole time. I guess it's supposed to be very gothic. Like, Maxim is always gloomy and depressed, and she's like, oh, he doesn't love me. He doesn't love me. Oh no, he doesn't love me. And the big reveal when he's like, I hated Rebecca. I killed her. And her reaction isn't, I married a murderer. Her reaction was, he didn't love Rebecca. He loves me. Like, really? Not exactly a feminist novel.
No.
So that's the biggest change from the book. But yeah, just the cast, the setting. I mean, I think it holds up. And there's even, if you notice, every time they mention Rebecca, there's like a motif of like creepy organ music. Like, she has like scary, be like, "Arr." So yeah, I really like that one.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
And
It
number
really
two.
is. Absolutely. Right. So my number 2 was Rear Window, the same as Corinne's. So what we'll do our little top 10 countdown. We'll go from 10 to 2. If you'd like to go first, Corinne, and tell everybody what they were again.
My number 10 was The Trouble with Harry. Number 9, Strangers on a Train. 7, Vertigo. 6, Dial M for Murder. 5, Shadow of a Doubt. 4, Psycho. 3, North by Northwest. And 2, Rear Window.
Fantastic. And Jen?
Number 10, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Number 9, Suspicion. 8, Foreign Correspondent. 7, The Lady Vanishes. 6, Notorious. 5, Lifeboat. 4, The Man Who Knew Too Much, 1956. 3, Shadow of a Doubt. 2, Rebecca.
Fantastic. And mine goes as follows. At number 10, I had Rebecca. At number 9 was Rope. At number 8 was To Catch a Thief. Number 7, Marnie. Number 6, Dial M for Murder. Number 5, Vertigo. Number 4, The Birds. Number 3, North by Northwest. Number 2, Rear Window. So, Corinne, what is your number 1?
My number 1 is 1946, Notorious. It was already discussed. There is like the history element. So you have Ingrid Bergman, as a daughter of a Nazi war criminal, but Cary Grant. I know everyone loves Cary Grant.
Mm-hmm.
And they do have that good chemistry. So it was a good movie to watch. And then you just see her deteriorate. Yes. And again, you just see her try to do the spine, and they're onto her, and he has to go into the house, and then you know what's going to happen to her husband. Just like the dinner guest who had an outburst, you know what happens. So I kind of like the espionage of it.
And that Claude Rains, right, is the husband?
It was.
Yes, as Alex Sebastian.
Right.
Claude Rains.
Almost feel bad for him. Almost.
He wasn't a Nazi.
Right.
Yeah.
And I forgot, if you've seen Mission Impossible 2, the John Woo one, a lot of it is shot for shot Notorious.
Okay.
Very heavily inspired by Notorious.
Yeah. I'm going to have to reappraise that. Yeah. I was going to controversially say I always found Mission Impossible 2 the most dull of that franchise, but I'm going to have to rewatch it because it did have some great action.
I mean, it's definitely a John Woo movie.
Yeah, a lot of pigeons, or doves, I should say, not pigeons. The posher pigeon, the dove flapping around, and a lot of motorbikes in slow motion, wasn't it?
Yep.
But yes, what a great movie, Notorious. Didn't quite make mine because, like I said before, I haven't seen it in such a long time. Would you say that's your most watched Hitchcock film then, Corinne?
I think some of the older ones, I've seen Strangers on a Train a bit more and like the older films, but once I hadn't seen it before I agreed to do this, and I just really ended up liking it. So I'll probably watch it again.
No, fantastic. So. Right, Jen. So, big reveal. What is your number 1?
My number 1 is 1959's North by Northwest. Cary Grant, Evan Marie Saint, James Mason, Martin Landau. I love it so much. It's perfection. Cary Grant is, no one was like him. And like I said, he was in his 50s. And he's running. He's doing Tom Cruise before Tom Cruise. He's running a lot. He's in amazing shape. You can tell, like at the end when he's sort of climbing around that house, and like, wow, he sure is nimble. But then he was an acrobat when he was young, so his physicality is so. It's nice to watch, and Ava Marie Saint, like her again, I love the clothes. I always have loved the clothes in that movie. And they aren't designed by, like, Edith Head did a lot of them. Hitchcock took, apparently, Ava Marie Saint, he didn't like anything the wardrobe people were suggesting. So he's like, let's go to Bergdorf's. And that's what they just got all her clothes off the rack at Bergdorf's.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah. But that scene, like you mentioned, the in the cornfield, again, a lot of silence, him just standing there, and the tension that's building in that. And again, making like, why would you think just standing there's no reason to be afraid of that, really. Still freaked out. I don't like to be in the wide. I don't like flat. I'm from Pittsburgh, so we have a lot of hills. And when I go places, like a couple of years ago, I was in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and I was in a hotel like on the 5th floor, and it's just flat and cornfields as far as you could see. And it was making me anxious.
Right.
Actually made me anxious. It weirds.
Listening out for that small drone to come over the.
I know. I'm like, where's the crop duster? Yeah. So I just North by Northwest. It just nobody is who they say they are, and the action. It just keeps going, and watching it recently, I honestly think Cary Grant drunk is one of the best drunk performances ever put on screen. And he gets to be Cary Grant. Like, he's hilarious when he's also being chased around and stuff. But like when he's drunk, it's fantastic. I can watch that anytime.
And he is a great, as we said before, a great leading man, and sort of he's like a bottle of wine, got better with age, didn't he?
Yeah. He's shirtless at one point. Yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that all the way. So my number one is no surprise. I've already talked about it when Corinne told you. It's Psycho. I'm a huge fan of this film. People that know me know that I always say it's a great introduction to a good horror film. It's got everything you need. It's got the jumps, although a lot of the jumps for people will have been spoilt nowadays. It's got that side of horror. It's got the psychological bits, and it's got what Hitchcock did best is the twist. And I would say if anybody has never seen Psycho, man up and watch it, because it's worth it at the end. It really is.
How many times do you think you've seen it?
I don't know. It's quite a staple, because I've introduced it to. I mean, I say all my kids. I've got 2 kids. I've introduced it to both of them when they're of age, get them into horror. And
they like it? They liked it?
Yeah. Especially afterwards when I said, like I explained on here, how it changed horror, and they became very much enthralled in it. I don't know. It's got to be in the 10s. Let's put it that way.
If it wasn't so scary. Now, did you come to Universal Studios in LA? Did you see? You saw the Psycho House? Yeah,
I couldn't get over how much the guy that runs out at you with the knife looked like Anthony Perkins. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. Because I used to work at NBC. I used to work at Universal Studios.
Right.
I wasn't in the park, but if people came to visit, I'd take them around the back lot, and there's the Psycho House. And I just remember that guy. Like, the tram would go by, and this guy would come out. He just walked with a body.
He didn't have the body when we had him. He came out with a big knife.
Yeah, he came out with a body and put it in a trunk, and like didn't even pay attention to the tram. He just came out carrying like a canvas body and put it in the trunk, and then went back in the house. And I just remember thinking, that's that guy's job. Like, is he getting a SAG card? Because he keeps carrying a body to car all day.
Well, I know, it's such a repeat thing. I mean, I wondered when because myself and Pav did an LA work trip back in nearly 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
And we must do another one. And it was the way he stomped out the door and onto the veranda or whatever it is that at the front, and he was in such a urgency. I actually said to Pav, do you think he's just getting sick and tired of doing that all day, and he's just trying to get it over as quick as he can? But like I said, I could not get over how much he looked like Perkins.
Did he come up to the tram? Like, how close did he
No,
No.
he was close, but he didn't. He had the knife, and he just like
Okay.
stormed out as if to say.
Okay.
He might have done more, but I think we were
Right.
quite near the front. But I have got a picture of him. I managed to take a picture of him because I was so, like I said, I just couldn't get over how much he looked like him. But,
Probably why he got the job.
yeah, absolutely. But like you said, what a poor,
Having your agent, like, they need someone who looks like
and,
Norman Bates
yeah,
for the casting call.
that'll be me.
You look the scariest.
It's like a Norman Bates lineup. We'll have you this week.
Yeah.
But that's been a wonderful insight into what other people in your Hitchcock movies. I think it's been so fascinating. Could listen to you both talk about them for ages and ages.
So many we didn't mention, and I think the only one I had to write down that I haven't seen is Trouble with Harry.
Oh yeah, that's the same as me. I've got that.
I think I have the shortest list, Neil. What's yours? 5?
Oh, loads probably. Yeah, I've got all this scrawling I've got everywhere. I've got scrawling everywhere. And we've got a lot of honourable mentions as well, as people that listen to the podcast have sent in what they think are what their favourite Hitchcock movies is. And we've got Stu Grant, who opened his message with, ooh. I don't know whether it's supposed to be like that, but this is a good one. So Rear Window is his favourite. Then he goes The Birds, Psycho, Vertigo, The 39 Steps, and Rope. We got Clee-Torres. Thank you very much for being a top head. I remembered watching Frenzy. That's the last one he did, wasn't it? Frenzy.
Family Plot, I think, was last, but Frenzy had been one before. And that always looked too scary to me.
Do you know, I've never actually seen it all the way through. It's very, very 70s coloured, almost like the Italian horror of what I remember seeing. I must go and watch that again. I must do. I remember watching Frenzy when I was younger and was so unsettled by it. But for me, Rear Window is such a nail biter. Jimmy Stewart is so good, isn't he? Just David Berger, The Birds, and he even did an audio commentary for it back in the day. I'll get Pav to put the link for that on there for his commentary, because God knows how to read that out.
I will not be listening.
Yeah. I don't know. I hope this isn't a joke name. Chris Peacock. Just let that sink in a minute. Just the Strings from Psycho is enough for me. Masterpiece. Paul Osgood, Lifeboat. There we are.
We didn't talk about the movie scores and how powerful.
I know.
Yeah.
They really are, aren't they? They really are. Again, it's the way he used the music in the movies was revolutionary, really. I mean, I've only seen a couple of the Silents. I wouldn't say I'm really into them. I just saw them for research purposes. And even the music on those are really spectacular. I don't know whether they've been upgraded or what they've done to it, what I saw, but fantastic. So Sergio Cervantes, I hope I've said your name right. North by Northwest. However, I must admit, I haven't seen any other Hitchcock movie other than The Birds when I was like 12. Good way to screw your head up for life. Doug Simpson, another top head. Thank you very much for the support. My number one would be either be Strangers on a Train or Rebecca, both great choices. Lisa Buchanan, another top head. Thank you very much. So I am old enough to remember Alfred Hitchcock Presents. We spoke about that with great reverence, I might add. As for the movies, two of my favorites are North by Northwest and Rear Window, but by far and above, Psycho to this day scares me. He was a genius when it came to cinematic illusion. I know history has shown him to be a tyrant and misogynist on his sets, so that needs to be said as well. And then Pat Myers, Hitchcock was the master of suspense. I'd go with The Birds, North by Northwest, and Psycho. Thank you very much for all your feedback. So, ladies, thank you very much for joining me. I hope it wasn't too painful without Pav. Pav, we do miss you. Well, I see him all the time.
I know you do.
Yes.
No, I joke. Of course I miss him. And he'll be back with his jolly nature of what he has. He has said that I must remember to still read out the quick gump, about all the social media. So you can find us on all the social medias at Top 10 Pods. Please give us like it. Email us at top10pods@hotmail.com with any suggestions. And do please come and support the podcast at patreon.com/Top 10 Pods, where there's all sorts of rewards where you can be a guest yourself. So, ladies, once again, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much, Corinne.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jen.
Thanks, Neil.
You've been a master of information today for me.
Yes, I'm impressed. I was like,
Yeah.
I feel so underprepared.
No, I'm that big of a nerd. So
No, it's absolutely fine. I could listen to that for weeks and weeks. So we're going to carry on talking about this. So thank you very much, everybody, for listening, and start the countdown, I think he says.
10, 9,